And we're joined now by the #2 Democrat in the Senate, Dick Durbin. He's in Springfield, Illinois this morning. He is recently back from Ukraine. Senator Durbin, let me just start to get your reaction to Mitt Romney earlier today on this broadcast when he suggested that the United States should have been warning Putin much earlier than we did, that there would be consequences if he moved into Crimea, and suggested that might have had some impact on what Putin did. Do you agree with that?
Well, Governor Romney had two positions, as I understood him. First, if we'd have shown military force somewhere in the world, it might have discouraged Putin. I disagree, and so does history. In the midst of the Vietnam War, when the United States was deeply involved in that war, Brezhnev invaded Czechoslovakia. In the midst of our wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, Putin invaded the Republic of Georgia. Let's call it for what it is. Here is Vladimir Putin with a failing Soviet franchise. And when he can't win the hearts and minds of his neighboring nations, he uses energy extortion, mass gunmen, and barbed wire. Now, he is a bully, and we've got to call him for what he is. But this notion that some sanction is going to stop a former colonel in the KGB from his ambitions of a Russian empire is naive.
Well, should we have recognized that early on, though?
Well, the fact of the matter is unilateral sanctions by the United States are good, but not sufficient. What the president has done is first try to negotiate, try to stop the intrigue and the referendum in Crimea. It didn't work, but the good effort was made by Secretary Kerry, by the president, by Angela Merkel, and others. Now the president has announced some sanctions from the United States, and he's headed over to meet with our allies. When we have an effort made at sanctions involving many other nations, it has a potential of greater impact on Russia and discouraging Putin.
One more question about Governor Romney. He says he can't think of a single country in the world where the United States today is held in as high esteem as it was before President Obama became president. What's your response?
Well, he's certainly suffering. Governor Romney's suffering from political amnesia. Does he remember the reaction of the rest of the world to our invasion of Iraq? The fact is that many of our stalwart allies of the past thought it was a terrible decision. What President Obama has done is restore a working relationship. Osama bin Laden is gone. The war in Iraq is over. Afghanistan is coming to a close, and this president has worked with many of these nations successfully to put pressure on Iran with sanctions, bringing them to the negotiating table. I'm afraid Governor Romney's forgotten those facts.
Well, let's talk a little bit about sanctions. The president's imposed some sanctions. Do you think they've had any impact at this point?
Well, they certainly rocked the stock market in Russia for a few days and weeks, and they might continue to. If Vladimir Putin is conscious and aware of his standing in the world economy, he has to understand that this aggression in Crimea is not helping the reputation of Russia as a modern nation where you can do business. He's back to the old Soviet ways, and a lot of folks are going to hold back and pull back as a result of it. I think he may have second thoughts.
The Senate's reaction to all of this was to go on vacation when there was a package of economic aid that the administration wanted to send to the Ukraine. Do you think you're going to be able to take that up now that you're back from vacation?
We'll take that up tomorrow. But for the record, Bob, Majority Leader Harry Reid came to the floor 10 days ago and called the bipartisan measure that passed the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, supported by the Democrats and John McCain and Bob Corker. There was an objection to passing it by a Republican senator on the floor. That's a fact. And now we're hearing the House of Representatives may not take up this effort to protect Ukraine unless we add a provision that will protect the Koch brothers from any investigation by the Treasury Department for misuse of campaign funds. I hope that's not the case.
Well, when Governor Romney talks about how the United States is perceived around the world, how do you think that kind of a situation in the Senate is perceived by other countries?
I think it's awful, and Senator McCain and I agree. We need a bipartisan stance by the Senate and by the House as quickly as possible this week in support of Ukraine, in support of sanctions against Russia, in support of a loan to Ukraine so that they can weather this storm as their economy gets back on its feet. Let's not have political intrigue on Capitol Hill undermining our support and our declaration that we stand behind Ukraine.
Do you think there's going to have to be military aid sent to Ukraine? Should there be? We're sending military food now, the meals that we've authorized, but shouldn't it be something more than that, or should it be?
It could be, and I think it should be. John McCain and I sat down, along with 6 other senators, with their leadership. They're not asking for American troops, nor are we offering them. Kelly was right about that. Senator Ayotte was right about that. But they do need everything from fuel to tires to sleeping bags to meals. This army in Ukraine was devastated by Yanukovych. It is so weak now that there are maybe 6,000 troops ready to go to battle. We've got to strengthen them and help them with advice and backing, and it may come to small arms. I'm not ruling that out. Keep it on the table. For the time being, let's help the Ukrainian army get on its feet as a self-defense force.
All right. Well, Senator, thank you so much for being